It's official. Donald J. Trump took the oath of office as the nation's 47th president today, but right out of the gate, California Democrat politicians have declared war trying to stop his agenda. Coming up, I'll give you the 3 ways that we can have Trump's back in California and help him advance his agenda despite being a blue state. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and a California state representative representing District 75 in the state assembly. Well, today was the big day, and man, it was amazing. My heart is filled with joy for our country, watching President Trump take the oath of office, return to the White House in what can only be described as one of the biggest political comebacks in the U.S. history. Trump is hitting the ground running. He had an amazing inauguration speech, but also has already started a raft of executive orders demanding action on a whole range of issues, which we're going to be covering in the coming days. Also today, Trump's press shop confirmed that one of the first orders of business, he's coming here to California. He'll be coming to visit the devastation caused by the wildfires in Los Angeles and hold state and local government officials accountable for making sure that we expedite the rebuilding process in our state. Lots to get to, but it's clear that California Democrats right out of the gate have declared war on the Trump administration and President Trump's agenda. No surprise there. Trump is the boogeyman for California Democrat politicians. Gavin Newsom wants to run for president in 2028, and he thinks the best way to advance his own political fortunes isn't to do his job as governor, isn't to work with Trump on common sense policies in a collaborative way. No. He's got to resist. He's got to be the showboater in chief. And so don't expect any constructive approach by California Democrat politicians. Last week, the Democrats introduced a bill in the state legislature where I serve, taking $50 million of your taxpayer money in the middle of a budget crisis to hire government attorneys to fund their partisan campaign to derail the Trump agenda. Again, this is an abuse of taxpayer funds here in the state of California. They're hiring government attorneys to sue the Trump administration to try to thwart his agenda right out of the gate. Of course, this week and next week, I'm going to be pushing back on that, trying to introduce all sorts of amendments to stop them. They've got the votes in the legislature. They're going to do it. But we're going to make it awfully messy for them. And so I want to talk about the 3 ways that anyone who supports Donald Trump can have his back in California. You might think that you're not relevant because you're in a deep blue state, you're behind enemy lines. What can we do in California? The Democrats run the show. I guess we have to sit back and just watch and be frustrated. No. You're not powerless. You can be quite powerful. And so I'm urging you to join Reform California on 3 ways that we are trying to have Donald Trump's back behind enemy lines here in California. Because this state has basically been positioned as the ground zero, the center of gravity, if you will, of the Trump resistance movement. California Democrats are trying to position themselves as the ones that will be the resistors in chief. Gotcha. We see that. It's clear. You don't give a damn about your own state. You haven't done your job for your own state. But by golly, you're going to go out there and grandstand against Orange Man Bad. So there are 3 ways that we can push back. Number 1 is when Democrat politicians in California, like Gavin Newsom, or any state legislator or the attorney general, Rob Bonta, when these Democrat politicians pontificate and jockey to compete with each other to see who's more anti-Trump than the other, what we need to do is call them out for their failures. So when they're out there saying, we're suing Donald Trump to make sure that we keep illegals here in the state. Okay, so you're willing to protect criminals with taxpayer money, and Donald Trump is trying to send criminals home. I mean, let's be clear about what you're trying to do. And we don't like it. And voters in California aren't being served by this. Anytime they push back on Trump, we need to respond by shining a light on what they're not doing for California. These are supposed to be state and local elected officials doing their job on state and local issues, but they've decided to monkey around and stick their nose in federal issues that have nothing to do with their core responsibilities. We have to point that out. You are a failure, Governor Newsom, on all the state issues that you're charged with. So to distract people from your abject failures on state issues, you're trying to play the shiny object game of politics. Distract them, divert attention from your own failures by going after Trump. Trump, Trumpity, Trump. It's nothing but a game to these people. And the media out here, the liberal media, lets them all too easily get away with it. Well, that's got to change. And remember, in the first term, there weren't a whole lot of Republican legislators. In fact, I can probably think of one or two at most, who even spoke up in defense of President Trump. So the first thing we need to do in California, those of us who are common sense patriots, is we need to speak up loudly whenever a Democrat politician from our state attacks Trump, uses your taxpayer money to sue Trump. We need to point out the reason why they're doing it is because they want to distract you from their failures on all of these other issues. Hold them accountable. And the only way to hold them accountable is to call them out. The best defense is a strong offense. And so anytime they attack Trump, we need to attack them and literally whip out the receipts and hold them accountable for everything from the high cost of living in the state, to the high crime wave, to the skyrocketing homelessness, to the failing schools, to the open border, all the issues that they have failed on, put it right at their feet and say, well, they're off trying to, fight Orange Man bad. They're failing the citizens of this state. They're not doing their job. Second, we also need to work with the Trump administration to save California. We need to show California voters that Donald Trump is actually the only hope we have to rescue us from these liberal politicians. These liberal politicians will not do the right thing. You saw that with Prop 36 in the 2024 election. Here's an idea. Make crime illegal again in California. Give police and prosecutors back the ability to arrest and prosecute criminals. I mean, it's as simple as the day is long. A no-brainer idea that the politicians fought every step of the way. They still say Prop 36 was wrong, even though it passed in every county. It passed with 68% of the vote. When a blue state like California adopts something like Prop 36, a conservative idea overwhelmingly, the politicians are out of step. And so if you think that Gavin Newsom and the state legislators are just going to wake up one morning and do the right thing, give us relief from high costly taxes and mandates, start cracking down on criminals, abandon these awful policies that are raising the risk profile on wildland fires, fixing our schools, cleaning up the homeless. If you think they're going to actually do any of these things, no, you obviously have not been paying attention. They will not. They are doubling and tripling down on extremism. They're failed policies. And so what we need to do is get the federal government to use its leverage to force the liberal politicians in California to do their job, to do the right thing. A couple of ways that we could do that. For example, high-speed rail, cancel the project. Sanctuary state, come arrest some local politicians when they don't want to cooperate with immigration and customs enforcement. Wildland fire. Instead of allowing Gavin Newsom to investigate himself, we should have the federal government investigate Newsom and other state and local officials for their gross mishandling and negligence. All these issues, homelessness, crime, the Green New Deal, the Greedy New Steel, all of these issues are actually federal issues, in addition to being state and local. So things like disaster aid. I've called on Speaker Johnson. I sent him a letter last week. Please, Mr. Speaker, yes, apply conditions to federal aid, because otherwise these politicians won't clean up their mess. They won't clean up their act on disaster preparedness and fire management, forest management practices. For President Trump, we sent a letter asking for that federal investigation. DeMaio asked Trump to order a federal investigation of gross negligence by California politicians in LA fires. Here's the letter that we sent to Speaker Mike Johnson. Imposing strict conditions on federal funding is our only hope to hold negligent California politicians accountable. Even California politicians realize that the Trump administration is going to crack down on their crazy policies, and they're basically rescinding insane mandates. California had tried to ban diesel-powered trucks. And because they know the Trump administration is going to basically crack down and say, no way, they're now abandoning that mandate. They're trying to ban gas-powered vehicles. Trump can stop it. They're trying to ban gas appliances in your homes. Trump can stop that too. On almost every conceivable issue, Donald Trump and his administration have a lot of leverage as the federal government, and they can stop bad things from happening to us in California. They are our only hope. Help us, Obi-Wan Trump. You're our only hope. So my office has started working with these incoming political appointees that Trump has selected for each of these agencies on a variety of ways the Trump administration can issue demand letters, launch investigations, impose conditions and regulations and mandates on the state of California to force California state and local politicians to back away from crazy policies. That's the second way that we can be part of the resistance. The third way that we can be part of the resistance, we got to flip seats. Oh, yeah. So here's what we have to do. Donald Trump right now has a thin 3-vote majority in the House of Representatives. In order for him to get his agenda through Congress, the House of Representatives has to remain in the control of the Republicans. The road to the House majority comes through California. How ironic is it that California actually matters to the national political scene by virtue of the number of Republicans we may be able to retain in our congressional delegation? We lost 3 congressional seats in 2024. Now, that's after picking up 5 seats in 2020 and 2022. So we're still up 2 net. We could have lost more than the 3. We could have lost up to 6 seats in this last election. So in the 2026 election, we better be ready to do our job. Recruit, train, endorse, and support quality members, candidates for Congress. And the incumbent members who are on the target list that are in toss-up seats, we got to save their seats. So I plan to try to target the 3 seats we just lost in 24, flip those back. But there's also an additional 5 to 7 seats we could probably pick up with the right candidates and the right fight. California matters. And so we need to make sure that we are prepared for 2026, and you can't wait until 2026 to prep. You got to do it now. All of this requires your help. We can't, at Reform California, have Trump's back through pushing back on Democrats when they attack them, going to the media and exposing their failures, working with these federal agencies to come up with great ideas on how the federal government can force California to become sane on certain policies. And finally, flipping the seats or protecting the seats we need to protect so that Trump gets another 2 years of a Republican majority to get his agenda through. We can't do any of that without your support. So I beg you, I implore you, join the fight. Go to our website, reformcalifornia.org. Reformcalifornia.org. When you go to that website, please do the first thing, which is, if you're not already on our list, sign up. First name, last name, email, phone, and zip code. That makes it possible for us to inform you when we do candidate recruitment, candidate endorsements, volunteer deployments, when we put out our plain English voter guide every election so you know what the ballot measures actually mean. We translate what the government is trying to tell you and deceive you on into plain English. All of these things require that you be part of our network. So sign up. Also, please chip in a contribution. All of the fights that we wage to flip seats, to work with the Trump administration on these policies, and of course, to call out negligent California politicians who are attacking Trump, to have Trump's back, all of it takes resources. We don't have the $50 million in taxpayer funds that the Democrats just voted themselves for their anti-Trump agenda? We can only have Trump's back if you chip in a contribution. So do that right now at the website, reformcalifornia.org. The average contribution, by the way, each year is $67 per person. That's about $6 a month, less than $6 a month. Please put gas in the tank. Help us have Trump's back in California. You matter in California more than you may realize. Look, today was an amazing day. I was so excited watching Trump take the oath, give his remarks. Spot on remarks, by the way. Thrilled about the initial executive orders that we're seeing come out. And literally, I'm getting notifications as we're sitting here, getting more executive order notifications on great policies. And of course, we're thrilled that President Trump will be coming to California this week and calling out and holding our state and local officials accountable for their negligence on the LA fires. Let's get his agenda through. And the only way to do that is in California to have his back. Until next time, I'm Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California and a California State Representative. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state. Reform California with Carl DeMaio is paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly.